Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Ohio Dirt Track Podcast. My name is Clint.
And I'm Jacob.
And we are here with episode 31. We had a big week last week with Drew Brenner on the show.
No.
You guys seem to like that episode a lot. We appreciate you guys tuning in and listening, and we absolutely noticed that you guys were clicking on and listening to other episodes too. So welcome to new listeners of the Ohio Dirt Track Podcast. We're coming here today to you from St. Pete District Studios, downtown Mansfield, home of the Ohio Dirt Track Podcast. And if you are in need of any recording needs, please make sure you reach out to robinrecorder@gmail.com. Robin can take care of your commercial needs, music needs, full band, podcast, whatever production you need. St. Pete District Studios can take care of that for you. So reach out and let them know.
As always, a huge thank you goes out to Robin at St. Pete District Studios. Robin always makes sure that we sound as good as we do. And this week, we are happy to say that we are also brought to you by Jeremy Elliott's SprintCarUnlimited.com.
Check out SprintCarUnlimited.com for full coverage from the world of sprint car racing. The website includes breaking news, rankings, features, results, video interviews, and a weekly podcast. In the off-season, the coverage doesn't stop there. We have stories from the Australian World Championship, as well as silly season. Our members also receive a free entry into the Month of Money contest and the weekly Pick 3 contest worth prizes. A year subscription costs $45, 6 months is $35, and 1 month is $8. Check out SprintCarUnlimited.com today and subscribe.
Again, a big thank you to both Robin and Jeremy from SprintCarUnlimited.com. Obviously, I'm a little biased towards SprintCarUnlimited.com. As you may or may not know, I write for Jeremy covering everything Ohio. As Jeremy said in the commercial, a 1-year subscription is $45 with a 1-month subscription at $8. In my opinion, it is worth every penny. If you are passionate about sprint cars, this is the go-to site. Jeremy works nonstop, works tirelessly to get all of the breaking news stories as soon as they happen, and gets results posted and stories posted from Pennsylvania, Ohio, Knoxville, California, wherever he may be, wherever I may be covering. And we get those stories out. We get interviews. As Jeremy said, there's a podcast. And one of my favorite things is the top 50 that Jeremy releases almost every week. The top 50 are like little news and notes. It includes so many just little tidbits that just enhance your knowledge going into the week ahead. So again, definitely check out SprintCarUnlimited.com, and hopefully you'll subscribe and get access to all of this great content.
Jacob, we're sitting here in the same room together for the first time in a while. How's it going, man?
We're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited about today's episode.
Yeah, man, we just wrapped up a very cool interview that we can't wait to share with you.
Oh, so much knowledge in there, so many stories, just holy smokes.
Yeah, 40 years of racing experience, something like that, across almost every single sanctioning body that you could think of.
Pretty much. I mean, there's not much this guy hasn't done. I mean, he's done NASCAR, IndyCar, the sports car, Formula One, dirt car, sprint cars, midgets, literally everything, and he's been successful in every single one.
So before we dive into this interview, I want to make sure that if you guys are listening on whatever platform it is, Apple iTunes, SoundCloud, Spreaker, make sure you give us a like and review. That will help us reach as many other people, broaden our audience a little bit. Make sure you let us know what you're thinking about, how we're doing here on the show, and just click some of those stars there and let us know how we're doing. So let's talk about who we're going to interview today.
Some people already know who we're interviewing today, and I've kind of given them some hints as to who is on the show, and so I'll give you guys a chance to kind of figure it out. The first hint I would give to the people is that this guy has 111 career wins between all facets of racing. That usually didn't give people too many ideas, but the next hint that I would give is usually the dead giveaway. So the next hint I would give is that this man won the Indy 500, the Daytona 500, a Formula One World Championship, and 4 other IndyCar championships, among other things. And usually everyone got it right away because there's no one else in the history of racing who has ever done this.
Yeah, he has definitely run the gamut when it comes to racing on both pavement and dirt. He just under 900 races run across his career in racing.
That's incredible, considering all the logistics, all the different cars he got to race. And he mentioned that he did a lot of testing too, so there's definitely a lot of time spent in a race car.
So giving you all of that information, let's go ahead and dive right into our interview this week on episode 31 of the Ohio Dirt Track Podcast with the one and only Mr. Mario Andretti. Okay, so we are on the phone today with a racing legend, Mr. Mario Andretti. Mr. Andretti, thank you so much for joining the Ohio Dirt Track Podcast today. How is the weather in Indiana?
How's the weather in Indiana? I have no idea at the moment, but I'm in Nazareth, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania? So I can't believe I said
it's drizzly and dreary.
I apologize. So how's the weather in Pennsylvania? I don't know why I said Indiana. I apologize for that.
Okay, Indiana's my second home, so...
I've been reading so much about Indiana. I'm headed to Indiana for PRI in a couple of weeks, and I just had it on the brain. I apologize for that.
No problem.
Thank you for your time. This is the Ohio Dirt Track Podcast, so what I want to dive right in with, and our first question is a question about your experience on dirt tracks in Ohio. I know it's been quite some time. I was able to find that you ran at Eldora in 64. I believe you had a win there that year, and then again in 1966. Do you remember those years at Eldora? Were they in the competition engineering number 9? What can you tell us about your experience specifically at Eldora?
Well, all positive. Obviously, I think what was important for me was that I was coming through the ranks, and finally had a decent ride in USAC, and of course. In those days, you had the opportunity to race against the very best. The guys that were running the full championship trail. So you were measuring up against Don Branson, McCluskey, the ounces, which actually Bobby, who was ahead of me, and of course AJ Foyt, and so it was so important, obviously, to be able to mix it up, with that level of talent, and you want to be noticed. So it's everything plays. I felt that that was a big break for me, to have those opportunities, and those are very, very popular events, back in Eldora, New Bremen, and so forth, Dayton, and again, so it played big for me, and as you can see, if you get a win now and then, that's what it's all about. So I think that's really what probably launched my career, because from there is where I got noticed, by Dean Van Lines when Chuck Hulse got hurt. There was, believe it or not, there was a choice between Roger Penske taking a test or me. And then, Lord and behold, Roger couldn't make it. So he gave me the opportunity. But like I said, it was a big launching pad for me, and got to know old Earl Baltes and everything. And it became, just a great situation. I used to do some promotions for him and all of that. So, yeah, good times.
You mentioned racing in Dayton, I believe. So, can you what do you call about any other racing in Ohio that you did?
Well, just New Bremen and Dayton. I only ran there a couple of times. I don't know why, and I was okay on the asphalt. It just somehow it never really worked out really well for me in Dayton. I love the banks because I won in in Indiana, Salem. I won Salem, and that's, they're fairly similar. But Dayton, I think, is the one place that I didn't win.
So in those years with USAC, you were back and forth on dirt and then on asphalt quite frequently. Was that, was it, how often was it back and forth? I mean, could it be week to week?
Well, it was wherever the schedule took us, So basically, it was nothing planned. I was doing. Sometime, I don't know if what it was. If I missed any of the schedule sprint car races, I forget. I have to look at the list, but pretty much I was making everything. I was running midgets at the same time, and so running whatever schedule was open. I'd be in the race car, so. I wasn't picking and choosing, is what I'm saying.
Just taking the opportunities as they came and trying to.
Yeah, I was just doing a schedule. It's not that I was okay, I'm going to do that. I'm not going to do this. I was just doing the schedule. Whatever the schedule was, I was in it.
So just a couple things, kind of about the evolution of the sport. There was a picture on Twitter that kind of surfaced not a couple weeks ago. I think it showed. Your pickup truck and your trailer hauling your sprint car down the road. So what was travel like back then, in the 1960s? How did you get your race car to the track?
I never owned a race car. In USAC, it was Wally Muskowski or Rufus Gray that owned the cars, or Watson, A.J. Watson. But I was only the driver. I never owned, the sprint car, or full-size midget. So my travel was just getting me and my helmet there, The only time I ever towed a race car, from one venue to the other, for some reason, it was one time from Phoenix to L.A., where I ran from Manzanita to Ascot. But only I did that as a favor. But I didn't take care of my own cars. I always drove for somebody else.
So that you mentioned your helmet. That kind of brings up another idea of the evolution of the sport that we wanted to mention with you. I know in 2003, I believe you were testing at Indy when you had a horrific looking crash there, but luckily you were okay. Well, one of the things that fascinates me about the span of time that you spend in a race car, you're looking at 35, 40 years there. Can you talk a little bit about the growth and the evolution of the safety equipment that you might have worn in 1963, and then what you were wearing in 2003, and did you have any part of that with companies? Did you give feedback to companies over that time?
Well, you look at the evolution, and it's technical, of course. You're always learning something more, and it's when you're talking about this engine side and chassis side, and of course the safety. It's we were losing way too many guys. I think it was 64 where just in 2 accidents alone we lost 4 guys. John Larson, Red Regal in Reading, and then later on that season, Don Branson and Dick Atkins. So that's when the sanctioning body and everybody else and the drivers, you started thinking, can we do better? If you got upside down in a sprint car, if you didn't get killed, you were maimed. And that's where the cages were born. And look how many drivers were able to retire on their own terms, because of the cages. The purists will say, well, the car doesn't look as pretty, which I agree,